Hey guys, gonna do a little bit different video today. A little recap of the last month and a half, where I've been, what's happened. Getting ready for the Arcadia Barkbusters Northeast 24-Hour Challenge. Running the Ironman class, Ironman Sportsman. Had a little get off before the week before that race. So we'll do a little recap here, show you what I've been up to. All right, so July 7th, I believe it was a Thursday. Got together with a couple buddies after work, just turn some laps, get some seat time in, make some final adjustments to the bike before the 24. Everything was normal. Fired the bike up, got geared up. Usually I'll come out here, turn a couple laps on a little moto track we have. Nothing big, nothing crazy. And usually do about 4 or 5 laps. And I come around berm down here. Figured I'd do one more. Feeling pretty good, feeling real comfortable. Have been feeling really good on the bike. So Travis was out here with me. He was behind me. Came, hit this little breaker, come around on throttle, hit this little tabletop double. Really, it's just a setup for the bigger double. Usually land on the throttle. Everything was normal until I got down to the lowest point between the two, right about here. And the bike died. It's like somebody hit the kill switch and held on to it, pulled the spark plug wire. It was ignition dead. So I rolled up the face of the jump under decel and really had no time to react. As I was in air, it started nosing over pretty heavy, and I decided to bail. It was just rotating too fast that I felt comfortable that I could have stayed on it, come up, landed on the nose, and rode out of it. So I bailed. I landed probably right in this area, somewhere just beside the jump. The bike nosed over and kind of into the face there a little bit, cartwheeled 3 or 4 times and ended up out in here somewhere. Initially, I wasn't sure what happened. After I had landed and slid and was laying out in here, and wind knocked out of me. Pretty quickly knew that I had broken some ribs, and I've been through the unfortunate experience to break a collarbone before. I don't know if you guys have, but I don't recommend it. So I laid on the ground trying to get my breath back, and Travis came up, check on me, and the first thing he had asked, if I was all right, and aside from not being able to talk, he had also asked if he wanted me to shut the fuel off on the bike. And my initial reaction was, hey, you didn't turn the fuel on. That bike ran out of fuel. And I said, you don't have to, dude. I evidently did not turn the fuel on. So Homer was here as well. He ran back to the house, grabbed my truck, and came over so I could hop up on the tailgate. Again, I kind of already knew I broke my collarbone. My chest hurt pretty good, so I definitely broke some ribs. And we then proceeded to get me undressed, get me up to the ER, get some x-rays done, and see what the next course of action was. Travis came out, picked my bike up, and took it back to the shop, and he said he couldn't get it to fire. A couple days later, my buddy's dad, Greg, had gone down into the shop and had fired up the bike, and he'd called to tell me and check on me and see how everything was going. And he said the bike fired right up, no problem. He turned the fuel on, no problem. And everything kind of happened fast that night, so I'd reach back out to Travis and ask him, what did you find when you went to pick up the bike when it didn't start? What did you see? And he had said that there was just fuel everywhere. You know, bike was laying on its side and it wouldn't start. But he said there was just fuel everywhere, fuel all over the ground, you know, kind of just running out of the vent lines. And so he, obviously not being familiar with the bike, wouldn't have thought that it was, you know, just super flooded out. The only way that thing was going to start at that point is just holding the throttle wide open to try and, you know, clean it out a little bit, get the cylinder dried out. So but he said that when he took it to the shop down into the basement, he did turn the fuel off. It was in the on position. And so the more I thought about it, you know, I've owned this bike for 5 years, going on 6 years, and you know, it's never given me a lick of trouble. I have run this bike out of fuel before, in hare scrambles, Northeast 24-hour challenge. You know, it gives a really distinct, gives you about a 20 to 30 second heads up of, hey, I'm running out of fuel. You either need to flip reserve or figure something out real quick. And you know, it gives you a heads up. It'll essentially, it leans out, and you still have power, you still have drive, but it's a little off. So maybe if you're not super attentive, somebody else might not know it. I've had the bike for a long time, so I know what it likes, what it sounds like. The jetting on it's, you know, really good. So the way it shut off here, it definitely did not run out of fuel. And the warm-up that I had done prior to even hopping on it, it's actually more than I usually do. The bike was completely up to temp, had let it sit there and idle, had, you know, once it was up to temp, revved on it a few times. And if I didn't turn the fuel on at all, there's no way I would have turned 4 or 5 laps around this little track. It would have been out of fuel much quicker. Not the worst part of the whole thing, but whatever the bike did, shutting off, it could not have happened at a worse place on the property. All the woods loops through here, all the single track, the rock gardens, it honestly could not have happened at a worse place. Just the speed you carry through here, which isn't crazy fast, not a huge jump or anything. It just really gave me almost no time to react, to try and correct it. You know, as it happened here, I mean, you're talking a quarter, half a second at most. One, to comprehend what the bike is doing, and two, what you're going to do to correct it. So it kind of left me with no choice. It was either hang on and maybe get collected up with the bike as it nosed over, or, you know, get away from it. And you know, I chose the latter, and I'm sure you guys have been in similar situations, maybe not bike shutting off, but nosing over too fast, and you know, you just have to act. You don't have a whole lot of time to think there. So had it happened anywhere else on the property, it would have been no biggie. There's nothing else really extreme here, just, you know, a couple of really good woods loops, and you would have just lost power and just you know, rode it out. No big to do. So go over the bike real quick. I have not really done anything to it. I've started it, it's fired up, no problem. I'm thinking it's something electrical. I have checked the spark plug. It's got just shy of about 100 hours on it. The first plug had maybe about 300 hours on it. The bike's just under 400 right now. And I changed the factory plug just out of, hey, this thing's got 300 hours on it. Has never filed, has never given me a lick of trouble. So I actually had done a compression test coming into the Northeast 24-hour challenge to see if I need to freshen it up, throw a piston in it. The 17300XC, I think a lot of guys are showing the factory spec on compression. You should be about 170-ish. The head is shaved on it, so it's a little peppier. It pumped 190, 195. So it's a good, healthy engine. So I'm really leaning towards electrical. It does have an aftermarket stator on it. It was rewound by Baja Designs. we have their headlights, the XL Pros, and in conjunction running those at night with a fan kit, if the fan's running a whole bunch, we found just on the stock stator that inevitably it would just run the battery down. You'd end up having to kick it. You'd still be able to run the bike. You'd just maybe be slightly down on power. So we sent those out a couple years ago before one of the 24-hour challenge races, and have not had any trouble. They also use a different regulator on them, so they're both outfitted with that, Caleb and mine. So again, no trouble with that, but thinking it's something electrical. I'm hoping it's easy to duplicate, honestly. That way I can get it corrected and you can trust it. Obviously probably not going to be testing it hitting, you know, this little moto track again. Keep the tires on the ground for a little bit. Have not been on the bike in a month and a half again, so have a race coming up Labor Day weekend with A-Works up in Sigel, called the Forest. It's a pretty interesting track. It's like God just dumped a bunch of little dirt piles the whole way through the woods. The whole track is whoops. So changes suspension just slightly to accommodate that. It is a little bit rougher. Definitely a rough race to come back into. Like to go through the bike early this week. It's now Saturday, the weekend before Labor Day, and so don't have a whole lot of time to shake it down. Hopefully get some time on it, ride the middle of the week maybe, see what it does. It's just one of those things that's going to take time. Be a lot easier if the bike didn't start. You'd be able to narrow down pretty quickly on what's going on, but that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. So let's bounce back to the bike, and nothing's too banged up, just kind of the little bit of the carnage of it going over a few times. So we'll bounce back there. All right, so back in the shop. Kind of stuff back in the corner here as it has not been ridden and blocked in by some stuff, but some of my 24-hour prep stuff have a little bit of fuel to burn through. But the back end took a lick. Subframe's just pushed a little bit. I think we'll unbolt everything and be able to straighten all that out. Should not be a big deal. I mean, the bike was spotless prior to those couple laps, but when it come over and it finally stopped, both front and rear definitely took a bite of soil. The front you definitely can see still got a good patch of grass hanging in there. Don't know how it's still green, but it is. Bark busters kind of got pushed down a bit. Throttle tube rotated forward. Should be about straight up from the handlebar. So start switch pushed down. Again, nice bite of dirt. You know, kind of just across the handlebars. Obviously the extremities of the bike are going to take the brunt of it, but I am absolutely amazed that this bike's got almost 400 hours on it. Where are we at? About I don't know if you can see that, 397.3. Factory radiators. My buddies have had trouble with the factory radiator fins and guards not protecting enough. I've wrecked this bike plenty, unfortunately, and those things have held up incredibly. The rads are straight, no issues. Just, you know, typical, you know, sticks get in there and stuff. Been some fins over that you can correct. Usually do that once a year, but nothing too bad. So I'm sure the bars are tweaked a little bit. So I'm really just gonna loosen everything up, give it a shake down. You know, it's incredible how well these bikes crash. It's definitely impressed me. So as I go through that, maybe I'll do another video like this. This is the first one I've done like this, so if you guys like it, let me know. Definitely can do some more, let you know what we're doing in the shop. Plenty of stuff down here to work on. Bikes everywhere, tires everywhere, tools everywhere. So just let me know what you guys want to see, and maybe we'll do a couple more like this. But until next time, catch you later, guys.